Russian fascists have been shelling Ukrainian cities for 2 weeks now. Russian airplanes have been dropping bombs on residential areas. Russian soldiers have been killing civilians, including women and children. Nuclear power plants have been captured and used as a nuclear threat. At the moment of writing this, 742,000 civilians are cut off from electricity, 238,000 are cut off from gas. Despite all these horrors and war crimes, I see a crippling trend on social media. Lots of people are unsupportive of Ukraine and even defending Russia. If you are still in doubt about what's going on in Ukraine now, I've attempted to list and debunk the most horrifying myths about the Russian invasion. Myth number 1. Economic sanctions against Russia won't stop the war. Millions of ordinary Russian people will lose their jobs. False. There is a method to end any dictatorship, and economic sanctions are part of this method. If no companies are left on the Russian market, where will the dictator get his money from? Every company that hasn't cancelled Russia yet is basically sponsoring this terror full-time. The same goes for the oil embargo. Oil is the only way Russia can earn money to continue funding its war crimes. If all countries agree to stop buying oil from Russia, the war will cease soon. Due to this, the Russians will flee the nation, which means fewer taxes and fewer soldiers for Putin to go to war. Remember, Ukrainians are dying, and it's worse than losing a job. Myth number 2. Russian people can't do anything. Protests don't work in an authoritarian state. False. Protests are effective. Authoritarian states just require more significant protests. So far, only a few thousand have taken it to the streets in Russia, a country with a 145 million population. Obviously, these are the most educated and intellectual people of the country who'd never supported the Putin regime. These people are a minority. We need to trigger protests of the masses, protests of millions who would simply overwhelm the police force. Myth number 3. Russians and Ukrainians are both victims in this situation. False. Imagine you're walking home at night and see someone raping a woman. Without saying a word or calling the police, you carry on walking home. Does it make you a victim in this situation? No, it makes you an accomplice. This is exactly what Russians are doing and have been doing during the entire duration of the Putin regime. They observe their government raping and murdering Ukraine. Myth number 4. You should feel sorry for the Russians who are suffering now. False. It's Ukrainians who are dying now, not Russians. Every minute you spend discussing how Russians lost access to their favorite Netflix movies, lost their jobs, or lost their freedom for 15 days due to their participation in protests, just remember, Ukrainians are dying. Myth number 5. I'm not supporting NATO, and I don't want to finance another war. I'm a pacifist, and I wish peace for everyone. Violence is not the answer. Imagine a bully attacking you in the street. What will you do? Cry for peace and show them a picture of a pigeon? Or fight back? Ukrainians are fighting back, and they're fighting for peace in entire Europe. Putin is a bully, and he won't stop at Ukraine. If you want peace, you need victory first. Myth number 6. Ukrainian government doesn't want to negotiate. Ukrainian president could end this conflict peacefully. False. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had offered Putin to meet and talk long before the war started. Ukrainian representatives participated in all rounds of current Ukrainian-Russian negotiations, and every time the demands of Russia were unacceptable for the sovereignty of Ukraine. The demands include Ukraine ceasing military action, changing its constitution to enshrine neutrality, acknowledging Crimea as Russian territory, and recognizing the separatist republics of Donetsk and Lugansk as independent states. Such demands are a political joke, and by no means Ukraine will accept them. Other world leaders tried to negotiate with Putin too, but all their efforts were futile, as in the case of Emmanuel Macron. Myth number 7. We also need to stand for the Russian culture and arts, as they are being cancelled now. False. Russian culture isn't your first priority now. It is Ukrainian culture and future that has been endangered for the entire history of it being neighbored by a terrorist state. When Nazis are bombing Warsaw, it's not the right time to discuss the music of Wagner. Myth number 8. Russians and Ukrainians are one people. This conflict has been staged by the West. False. Ukrainian is an independent culture, and it has existed for much longer than the culture now called Russian.